1. For decades, white bread has been a comforting staple of the modern diet, a soft, convenient foundation for sandwiches and toast that we consume without a second thought. However, for those of us over the age of 60, this seemingly harmless food is increasingly being recognized by the global medical community as a lethal biological trigger that could dismantle your health in a matter of hours. Recent neurological studies and clinical trials have sent shockwaves through the health industry, suggesting that the daily consumption of highly refined white flour may be directly linked to a massive spike in overnight stroke risk. While it looks innocent and smells inviting, white bread is effectively a metabolic time bomb that the aging body is no longer equipped to dismantle safely. As our metabolism slows down and our arteries naturally become less resilient with age, the way we process simple carbohydrates changes fundamentally at a cellular level. In your youth, your body could mitigate the damage of refined flour, but after 60, your biological margin for error vanishes. What was once just a quick breakfast is now being identified as a primary contributor to the sudden vascular inflammation that leads to catastrophic brain events. Doctors are now issuing urgent warnings that for seniors, white bread isn't just empty calories. It is a direct, aggressive threat to your vascular integrity and your future independence. Every slice you consume acts as a silent architect of arterial decay, building a foundation for a medical crisis that can strike when you least expect it. 2. The primary danger of white bread lies in its extraordinarily high glycemic index, which is often measured as being even higher than that of pure table sugar. Because the protective bran and the nutrient-rich germ have been mechanically stripped away during industrial processing, white bread is composed almost entirely of rapidly digestible starch that the body treats like glucose the moment it touches your tongue. When a senior consumes this, it triggers an immediate and violent spike in blood glucose levels that overwhelms the pancreas and the circulatory system. For an aging system, this massive influx of sugar triggers a dangerous process called blood sludging, or hyperviscosity. High glucose levels change the physical property of your blood on a molecular level, making it more viscous, sticky, and heavy, which forces the heart to work exponentially harder to push this thickened fluid through the narrow, aging vessels of your brain. This increased viscosity is a perfect recipe for the formation of microscopic clots, small, jagged clusters of cells that are difficult for the body's natural defense mechanisms to dissolve. If these sugar-induced clots form in the evening after a late meal of white bread, they can easily travel through the carotid artery and lodge in the brain while you are asleep, resulting in an ischemic stroke before you even have a chance to wake up. This process is silent, painless, and invisible until it is far too late to intervene. 3. Beyond the sugar spike, white bread is a notorious and deceptive hidden sodium trap that sabotages your blood pressure from within. Most seniors believe they are successfully avoiding salt by putting down the salt shaker or avoiding fast food. But they don't realize that common white bread is one of the single largest sources of hidden sodium in the Western diet. Manufacturers add massive amounts of salt to processed flour to control yeast activity, create texture, and unnaturally extend shelf life. For a senior with even mild hypertension, this hidden salt intake causes the body to retain water at an accelerated rate, which rapidly increases total blood volume and puts immense mechanical pressure on the delicate, thinning arteries of the brain. This hidden blood pressure spike, combined with the inflammatory nature of refined flour, creates what doctors call a perfect storm of vascular stress. When your blood pressure surges internally without you feeling any physical symptoms, you are living on a knife's edge. This constant hydraulic pressure weakens the arterial walls over time, making them prone to microscopic tears. One simple piece of toast could be the final straw for a weakened arterial wall that has been struggling for years, leading to a sudden rupture or blockage that changes your life forever. 4. We must also discuss the devastating inflammatory cascade triggered by refined white flour within the senior cardiovascular system. White bread contains almost zero fiber, which means it completely bypasses the body's natural braking system for digestion and nutrient absorption. This lack of fiber leads to a rapid, unchecked release of pro-inflammatory cytokines into the bloodstream almost immediately after ingestion. In seniors, chronic inflammation is the primary driver of atherosclerosis, the hardening and narrowing of the arteries that restricts blood flow. When you eat white bread daily, you are essentially keeping your arteries in a constant state of fire and irritation. This persistent inflammation causes the protective caps on existing plaque in your carotid arteries to become unstable, thin, and prone to tearing. This is known as vulnerable plaque, and it is the leading cause of sudden strokes. Medical professionals have observed in emergency rooms that stroke victims often have a long-term history of high refined carb intake, which creates hot plaque that can rupture at any moment, instantly blocking the blood flow to the brain and causing permanent damage. Your breakfast isn't just a meal. It's a chemical signal to your body to remain in a state of high alert and inflammation. 5. A terrifying and little-known effect of white bread is its direct role in vascular brittle syndrome, a condition where arteries lose their flexibility and become rigid. The bleaching agents and industrial chemicals used to make flour unnaturally white, such as potassium bromate or chlorine gas, can leave trace residues that contribute to massive oxidative stress in the senior body. For an aging vascular system, this oxidative stress specifically attacks the endothelium, the paper-thin, vital protective inner lining of your blood vessels that regulates blood flow and prevents clotting. When the endothelium is damaged by these chemicals and the high sugar content of bread, the arteries lose their ability to dilate and contract properly in response to the body's needs. This makes your blood vessels brittle, similar to an old, cracked garden hose. Brittle arteries are incapable of handling the natural fluctuations in blood pressure that occur during the day or during the deep stages of sleep. This significantly increases the likelihood of a hemorrhagic stroke, where a vessel actually bursts under pressure, leading to life-threatening bleeding in the brain. You are essentially turning your flexible, healthy vessels into rigid, fragile pipes that can no longer support the demands of your circulatory system. 6. The empty nutrition paradox is another reason why white bread should be considered a senior's worst dietary enemy. By filling your stomach with refined starch, you are effectively displacing the nutrient-dense foods that your brain actually needs to prevent a stroke and maintain cognitive function, such as healthy fats, antioxidants, and magnesium. Magnesium, in particular, is critical for maintaining a steady heart rhythm and flexible, healthy blood vessels. Yet most white bread is completely devoid of this essential mineral due to the refining process. When you make white bread a daily habit, you are essentially starving your brain of the very minerals that protect it from vascular failure and neural degradation. This creates a state of overfed but undernourished. Doctors are now seeing a disturbing pattern where seniors who eat the most white bread are also the most deficient in stroke-preventing nutrients, creating a double-edged sword of high risk and zero protection. You are essentially paying for food that actively depletes your body's ability to defend itself against the diseases of aging. This nutritional bankruptcy leaves your vascular system defenseless against the daily stresses of life, making every bite a gamble with your health. 7. The industrial processing of white bread also involves the total removal of essential B vitamins, especially B6, B12, and folate, which are found in the discarded grain germ and are vital for brain health and DNA repair. These vitamins are responsible for regulating homocysteine levels in the blood, an amino acid that can be toxic to the vascular lining in high concentrations. High levels of homocysteine are a major independent risk factor for stroke and heart disease, as they directly damage the lining of the arteries and promote rapid blood clotting. While some white bread is enriched with synthetic vitamins, these lab-made versions are often poorly absorbed by the senior digestive tract compared to the natural forms found in whole grains. Without these natural B vitamins to keep homocysteine in check, your levels can climb to dangerous heights, silently eroding your brain health and making your blood more prone to clotting with every sandwich you eat. This chemical imbalance is a hidden contributor to the sudden vascular events that doctors are so concerned about. You are essentially living with a chemical imbalance that could be easily corrected by simply changing your choice of grain. 8. We cannot ignore the catastrophic impact on gut microbiome health, which scientists now know is directly linked to brain health through the gut-brain axis. White bread acts as a primary fuel source for bad bacteria and yeast in the gut, which produce metabolic toxins that can leak into the bloodstream and cause systemic, body-wide inflammation. This leaky gut scenario is a major contributor to the low-grade inflammation that leads to cognitive decline, memory loss, and vascular weakness in seniors. By contrast, whole, unprocessed grains feed the good bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, which actually strengthen the blood-brain barrier and protect the brain's blood vessel from damage. Choosing white bread over fiber-rich alternatives is effectively choosing to poison your internal environment and, by extension, your entire vascular system. Every slice of white bread shifts your internal balance away from protection and toward vulnerability, creating an environment where a stroke is much more likely to occur. Your gut health is the foundation of your vascular health, and white bread is systematically destroying that foundation one meal at a time. 9. The overnight risk factor is perhaps the most alarming and urgent part of this discovery for the senior population. Many seniors enjoy a piece of white bread or a soft roll with their dinner as a comfort food. Because the body's metabolism and physical activity slow down significantly during sleep, that massive glucose and insulin spike from the refined flour has nowhere to be utilized by the muscles. This leads to a prolonged, dangerous period of nocturnal hyperglycemia, where your blood sugar remains elevated for hours in the dark. Clinical studies show that high blood sugar during the night is a primary trigger for the formation of blood clots and the stiffening of the arteries while you sleep. While you're resting, your blood is becoming thicker and your blood pressure is fluctuating erratically as your body struggles to process those refined carbs. This is exactly why so many strokes and heart attacks occur in the early morning hours. The biological damage was done by the innocent bread consumed the night before, creating a crisis that peaks while the body is at its most vulnerable. You're going to bed thinking you're resting, but your body is actually fighting a metabolic war caused by your dinner choices. 10. Your action plan to protect your brain and ensure your longevity starts with a total and uncompromising kitchen audit today. The Wellness Senior Protocol is clear and evidence-based. You must eliminate white bread and all refined flour products from your diet immediately. This is not a suggestion. It is a necessity for vascular survival. Replace them with true grains, such as 100% sprouted whole grain bread, rye, or authentic sourdough made from ancient grains like spelt or kamut. These alternatives provide the necessary fiber, minerals, and vitamins needed to stabilize your blood sugar and protect your arterial walls from the inside out. If you find it hard to give up the soft texture of bread, start by using large lettuce wraps or roasted sweet potato slices as a base for your sandwiches to provide a satisfying experience without the vascular risk. Your independence, your memory, and your very life are worth far more than the temporary convenience of soft white bread. Stop letting industrial food companies dictate the health of your brain. Stop eating the stroke-triggering food starting today and give your brain the clean, stable, and protective fuel it needs to thrive well into your 80s, 90s, and beyond. Your future self will thank you for the courage to change your habits today.